My name's GuykesTV, and for the past 20 years I've been lucky enough to test the best bikes in the world. And it don't get much better than it is today. Climbing up Carbon Pass, myself, mountain bike legend and nicest man in the business, Nick Craig, and a Scott Spark Plus tuned. So, let's find out why this really is one of the bikes I've been most excited to ride since I heard about it. And the Spark is absolutely electrifying as a trail bike. That's a terrible pun, but what it lets you not just get away with, but encourages you to ride. It's just fantastic. It's always been the case with the Spark that it's been more shaped as a trail bike than racing. But this incarnation just takes it to a whole new level. I mean, this is essentially the same chassis architecture that Schurter and Risbet rode to gold, but just with plus tyres in, 130 in travel front and 120 at the rear. Because when there are bikes with this kind of geometry, but they just can't back it up with the frame stiffness or the suspension performance. They just haven't got that confidence, that authority to let it rip when it's as loose as it gets. And this is sketchy as, but it's fine, because I know the Scott's got it, even if I'm unsure of myself. And yet, the limit on the climbs is your lungs and your heart. But even then, it's amplified by that super lightweight 11.6 for this medium. The amount of climbing ability and traction this bike has is ridiculous. I'd love to stop, but it just won't let me. At under 2 kilos, this is lighter than practically anyone else's race frame. And yet you should see what Sam and Joe Flanagan do on this bike in the Slice of British Pie videos or on their Tripping Fellas videos. They absolutely thrash them like in no holds barred, and they're still going. That's Nick Craig, multiple national champion, stunning rider, pushing while I'm sort of still riding, and that's purely the plus tyres. I can tell you that for a fact. I mean, this bike is a ton of money, but throwing a ton of money at a bike doesn't always work out as well as it does on this one. You know, the attention to detail, whether it's how the cables are routed through the frame or how they make the frame so light without losing that vital stiffness in terms of drivetrain or precision. I don't think I've ever spent a greater proportion of a ride either hanging off the back with the saddle slammed or sitting right on the point of it. But in those kind of extremes, that's where this bike truly excels. I'm going to be absolutely gutted giving this one back. It'll let you climb like you're wearing a skin suit, but descend like you're wearing goggles. And it'll take you way out into the wilds like it has with us today. But it'll let you tackle the most radical trails you dare. The Maxxis tyres that Scott have spec'd, they're a brilliant choice for this bike. Well, they're fast, but they've still got all that grip and buoyancy and control, which is the reason to have plus. And of course, you don't have to run it plus. It'll take 29 as well if you want to add that efficiency and that faster rolling speed. And the twin lock is just such a neat feature. One click, 85mm of really progressive, taut, energy efficient climbing. If it's super smooth, full lockout, and if it gets gnarly like it's about to, just click it down. You got back to that 120mm of plush maximum traction, suspension action. Not everyone's gonna like that busy left hand bar, but if you're prepared to make the most of it, just gives it a unique capability. That 3 bikes in one, and each way feels great. Even in hardtail mode, you've still got the smoothness of plush. It's not punishing and blunt, it's still a high traction, high enjoyment machine. And the twin lock doesn't just let you change modes, it gives you a lot more leeway in how you can run each of those modes. You can run fully open, a bit softer, just because if you need it to be taut, you can put it in TC in the traction control mode, and happy days. So while it's got all that lightweight, super efficient pedalling, race DNA of the Spark that Nick's riding, it's got that plus tyre confidence and grip to properly take daft lines and just make the whole hillside into a playground and do ridiculous things like carve up Nick like that. And he's one of the best bike handlers I know. And you don't even have to blow a fortune on the carbon bikes. As great as this bike is, Scott have always made really light, really efficient alloy frames too. And it's the same with the Spark, same geometry, same suspension kinematic, you know, and they do the Plus right down through the price range as well. And I'd love to try that one. Look, this is, wait, look at that, doesn't care. And this trail is just perfect, this whole day has just been perfect for it. I mean, oh hey, oh, what is this? Coming in, yeah, doesn't care. The only time I've got annoyed is when I've slowed down like that and then realised this could have absolutely blasted through it without a care. Such a unique combination of that racing heritage and that trail control. Just fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't want to do this on any other bike. I'd be happy racing, I can tell you that for nothing. This is just so much fun though. I keep thinking it, I'm going to have to say it. This has to be one of my favourite mountain bikes I've ever ridden. This is the one. This is just such an amazing trail bike. So what does make the Spark Plus tuned one of the best bikes in the world, and one I'm absolutely loving out here on these incredible trails in the Lake District? I mean, the Scott HMX carbon frame is a thing of absolute beauty. Like I say, sub 2 kilo frame, which puts it in, you know, the lightest race weight category. But it's a really tough, practical frame still. It can take a beating, but there's just some lovely detailing on it there, the internal cable routing, and the way the shock sits in the frame down there. Trunnion mount shock, and in here you've got the lockout and the remote and the rebound, just still to hand, but beautifully hidden away inside the frame there. Really neat little rocker link. You've got a flex rear stay to take the place of standard rear pivot. 148mm boost back end, super broad pivot base there, and the stiffness of this bike, I mean, look at that, that's like a cow's jawbone, that chainstay, and it, by God, it can take all the wattage you can throw at it and it doesn't even flinch. The last thing you need to worry about this bike is it being inefficient under power, and yet you've still got that dropper in there, that lovely gold Kashima coat, Fox transfer dropper post to match the factory spec rear shock and the factory spec 34 fork. You know, it's not the stiffest fork in the world, but it's a hell of a lot stiffer than the race forks you'll find on most bikes in this kind of weight category. Decent width bar, short stem, and here's where the real magic happens in terms of the way it interacts with the trail and the way it interacts with you. I mean, not everyone's going to like a busy left-hand bar like this, but the twin lock system is just so well refined. One click gets you that 85mm of travel from the rear shock, but it's more progressive, it lifts the sag slightly, so you've less chance of a pedal strike, because it is a low bottom bracket. And then full push forward, boom, fully locked. Need to release it, bang, bang. That's always under your thumb. So you've got a hardtail, you've got a really tight, torqueful suspension race bike, or you've got a full plush play bike. Genuinely, that's the really remarkable thing with the Spark this year, is it's the first year that you've really had a bike you can properly let rip on, and there's no trace of any compromise in the shock action. Everything's down low, and even if you're looking at an enduro bike, everything's in the right place for throwing the bike around. Super low bottom bracket. I mean, it's press fit, which isn't my favourite thing, so you probably want to go to a high quality bottom bracket like a Hope. When that starts to wear out, you know, no bike's perfect. This is damn close. SRAM Eagle is just a fantastic way to power a bike like this. And the Maxxis tyres, I mean, again, just a properly trail proof spec, and Scott have mounted them on proper plus wheels as well. It's not a pretend plus bike. That's a 35mm internal Syncross rim, and it just produces a beautiful profile on the tyres. It's properly blown me away. On a very blowy day in the Lake District, it's the bike that's blown me away, not the weather. Yeah, Scott Spark Plus tuned. It's probably my favourite mountain bike I've ever ridden. It's just an absolute joy.